Hey folks, welcome to another Passion for Sound audio review. A little while ago I reviewed the Mastrop THX 789 amplifier and was very impressed by it. The THX technology has since been used in multiple other products, and one of those products is here with me today, and that's the SMSL SP200 amplifier, which uses the THX AAA-888 module as opposed to the 789 module in the Mastrop version of the amplifier. Now, one of the biggest questions for me is, do all THX amplifiers perform the same because they're using the THX circuitry, or is it a bit like DAC chips where the implementation of the particular technology, in this case the THX circuit, is the implementation the key to the sound, or is it just the circuit itself? So I was really keen to get my hands on this. Thank you to SMSL for reaching out and sending me this unit for review. This has been donated to the channel by SMSL, and so excitingly I'm going to offer this as a giveaway in the near future. And speaking of giveaways, in the past giveaways have always been available only to patrons of the channel, and I would like to take a moment now to actually thank the patrons of Passion for Sound. You guys are incredibly generous and you help to make these reviews possible. Obviously a lot of the equipment that does come in for review I have to buy myself, and therefore having any sort of patronage really helps me to be able to go out there and get extra products. So I've had a chat to the patrons, and in the process what I'm going to start doing is actually making giveaways like the SMSL SP200 and the current giveaway of the Abasso DC01 and DC02 DACs. Make those available to any subscribers to the channel. So we're going to start that right now. If you're interested in winning the Abasso DC01 or DC02, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button on this video, and drop me a comment down below whether you'd like to win the DC01 or the DC02. Patrons to the channel will get extra chances to win, so for those of you out there thinking about potentially supporting Passion for Sound, do click through the link below and take a look at the benefits that you'll get by being a patron and the extra chances you'll get at winning any giveaways. For now though, let's start talking about the amplifier. Something I immediately noticed upon receiving the SP200 was that it's quite a bit smaller than the 789 amplifier, and that's despite the fact that the SP200 actually has the power supply built in. So I might actually take this chance to turn the amp around and show you on the back here that instead of it using an external wall wart, it takes a regular standard power cord, and the power supply module is actually here in the back corner of the amplifier. So it's interesting that despite the extra content in here in terms of the circuitry of the power supply, the unit itself is smaller. Now I opened up both amplifiers. There's nothing really important to show you here on the video, but off video, I opened both of them up to take a look, and there's a lot of spare real estate inside the 789 from Mastrop. So there's no need to feel like because the 789 is bigger, it's automatically got more stuff going on or it's better. It's very, very similar in terms of the amount of circuitry. What seems to be differing between the two of them is the brands and the implementation of some of that circuitry, and I'll talk about that shortly. Continuing though now, just talking about the SP200, it's a very unusual design in that if you can see from there, it's not a rectangular prism, it's actually a trapezoidal prism. So each of these sides is ever so slightly angled. It looks a bit wonky at first and it looks like it's a mistake, but it is a deliberate design choice by SMSL, and ultimately, whilst I'm not necessarily a fan of it, it doesn't affect the amplifier being completely stackable. It's flat on the top and it's flat on the bottom, so it doesn't cause any issues. It just looks a little bit strange when everything else is often square-sided. I guess in some ways I would have preferred they actually go further and make it a really sharp angle so that it's a more of a definite design choice and less that it looks a bit like it could have been an error. But as I said, it's a minor thing, it doesn't affect the usability at all, so it's personal taste. Looking at the front panel, we've got a 4-pin XLR output. It's not actually a balanced amplifier, so that 4-pin XLR is more about connectivity, making it easy for you to connect whatever headphones you have without needing adapters and the like. We've then got the standard 6.3mm headphone jack and a series of switches. So you've got your power switch, the choice between the RCA or the XLR input, you've got the low gain and high gain options as well, and then a volume control. If you've read any other reviews of this amplifier or watched any other videos, you may have already heard that the volume control is probably the weakest part of the design, and I have to agree. It feels a bit cheap, it's very light to turn, not a lot of tactile feedback. It works okay from a technical point of view, I guess, but it doesn't feel the best. Both the volume knob feels light and a bit cheap, and also the action feels a bit light and a bit cheap. So that's a minor gripe, but having said that, we should put this into context now and say this is a $290 amplifier. The Mastrop 789 is a $400 amplifier. So sometimes this is going to come down to budget, and comparing these two is very much a case of, is it worth spending an extra $110 to get the Mastrop version? And part of that might come down to the things like the feel of the volume control, but part of it might come down to the sound quality that we're going to talk about shortly. Before we do though, let's flip around to the back. On the back, as I've already alluded to from the switches on the front, you've got RCA inputs and XLR inputs. Again, as I said before, this is not a balanced amplifier, so don't feel like you need to be using the XLRs to get the most out of it. You're going to get the same performance out of either input. The only other thing on the back is your power input socket that I mentioned before. So it's very basic, it's very simple, but it's neat, it's tidy, and I do like the fact that it's compact. It's nice having small components if you've got a crowded desk. Having spoken about design, let's talk a bit about compatibility. The SP200 has buckets of power. It's a very capable amplifier for pretty much anything you can throw at it. So what's really nice about the THX designs is that they have very, very low noise figures. And that means you can use these amps with everything from an IEM all the way through to a power-hungry, high-impedance headphone like a Sennheiser HD series or a Beyerdynamic T1, for instance. It's got buckets of power when you need it, but it's also quiet enough and has enough control with low gain that you can drive small, sensitive IEMs with no problems with this amplifier. Unlike the 789 from Mastrop, you do need to use an adapter if you're going to be plugging in IEMs with a 3.5mm plug, but that's a really minor issue. It doesn't degrade the sound quality to use an adapter. It's purely an ease of use thing that the Mastrop 789 has the 3.5mm connection as well. In terms of sound quality for this amplifier, it performs very, very similarly to the 789 from Mastrop. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about that. I'll put a card here in the corner for you to take a look at the review of the 789 if you do want more information on that. But what I'm going to do instead is talk a little bit about the differences between the two and give you just a general summary of the sound. The sound from the THX modules is always clean and distortion free. That's really the main feature or the main benefit of these modules is the feed-forward technology pulls away any of the extra distortion created in the circuit and means that you're getting very, very low distortion figures and therefore a very clean sound. So I describe the SP200 sound as very linear, very clean and very neutral. It's got good bass control and definition, it's got good treble extension, the mids are well balanced with everything else. It's just very much a transparent, neutral sound. And that's very much in keeping with what I heard and described from the Mastrop 789. Having said that, there are some differences, and the differences are quite subtle. On first listen, I thought maybe these amplifiers were interchangeable, but as time went on, I realized that they're actually not. I found there was a sense of harshness to the SP200, very subtly, that I wasn't getting from the 789. The SP200 sound comes across a little bit flatter, and as a result of it being flatter, there's this, I said harshness before, maybe the better term is dryness. It's just a little bit less natural and organic sounding compared to the 789. I think part of that, and again, I'm not an audio engineer, so I'm just speculating here, but I think a big part of that comes down to different componentry used in the two amplifiers. Often when you're spending more for an amplifier, what you're getting is better quality capacitors, better quality volume pots, all those little bits and pieces that affect the signal as it transfers through the amplifier, all of those add up to very subtly change the end resulting sound that you're getting. And I think that's the case in the SP200. The volume pot is definitely a cheaper volume pot. There are some other components, some other microprocessor type components and capacitors that are different. Now I'm not going to sit here and say this one's better than that one and this is why, because I'm not qualified, I don't know the truth about that, but my theory behind this is to get the price point that SMSL have, they're using slightly lower spec materials and components. And I think you can hear that, or I know you can hear something, and I think that's where it's coming from in terms of the sound quality from the SP200. So I guess to summarize, what I'm saying here is that the SP200 is a fantastic amplifier. It's very neutral, it's very clean, it can drive any headphone you're likely to throw it at. And at $290 US, it's a real bargain for what you're getting. It's going to comfortably outperform pretty much anything else in that price range, or even a bit above it, short of going to something like the Massdrop 789. What you're getting for your $110 extra if you're going for the Massdrop version of the THX technology is you are getting a more refined sound. You're getting a bit more space and a bit more detail within the sound, and overall a more organic presentation. I like many things about the SP200. I think the toggle switches, whilst they don't look quite as elegant as the press buttons on something like the Massdrop 789, they're very functional, they're very sturdy, they're very reliable, and I quite like the feel of toggling a good solid switch like that. So I wouldn't complain about any of that. I think in many ways it's a fantastic amplifier. It's just got a few things that are really defining its price point and are a result of its price point. But again, you're going to get what you pay for, and it's excellent value, but it's not a world beater is probably how I need to balance this out. If you're in the market for an amplifier for around that $300 US mark, you should absolutely look at getting one of these. It's a brilliant little amp. The fact that it's so versatile and so clean sounding, it's going to kill pretty much anything else on the market at that price point. So do have a look at it for sure. If you've got a bit more to spend, then you might be best served by looking at something like the Massdrop 789, or obviously depending on your budget, going even higher still. The Massdrop 789 isn't the last word on amplifiers. It's excellent, but it's not the last word, just like this is not the last word. So each of them performs exceptionally well at the price point that it's pitched. Of course, if you'd rather just win one, then just make sure you're a subscriber. After the DC01, DC02 giveaway is completed at the end of February, I'm going to bring this in for a giveaway during March. So stay subscribed, watch out for future videos, and make sure you're in the running to win the SP200. As always, I hope you found this review useful and helpful. If you have, do think about hitting the like button and the subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll look forward to seeing you here next time on Passion for Sound.